Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're looking at a 9-game Friday night slate here. And this one taking a look at the Milwaukee Bucks and Chicago Bulls, both sitting atop of that Eastern Conference and their division right now, taking on each other here. That possibly without Zach LaVine in Chicago. We'll take a look at who's going to be in this one and some best bets for you. Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com as well with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page, as we got a couple other videos up for you today, including that player props video that we're really happy to bring you each and every weekday. And we'll look to climb right back above 500, just slightly below on the week. But we'll get things back together here tonight. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, the Bulls on a back-to-back here after giving up 130 and a monster line to Trae Young are plus 4.5 at home. And yeah, you mentioned Zach LaVine being questionable. I think it's a questionable decision that he played like 30-plus minutes in the All-Star game when he went into the break with multiple injuries, but that's his decision. And the Bulls are now reaping the what they sowed there with the 3 straight losses.
Yeah.
Quickly looking at the 8 other games on the slate, though, Pacers minus 2.5 at Detroit. The Hawks, who beat the Bulls last night, minus 4.5 at the Wiz. The Cavaliers are plus 7.5 at the Sixers. That total's moved a lot between 216 and 220. Definitely like the over if you can get it at that low 217 right now. Magic plus 8 at the Raptors. The Wolves are minus 9.5 at OKC. Jazz minus 4 at the Pelicans. Rockets are plus 14 at Denver. And then the Knicks plus 7 at Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, the Bucks, they come off that win against Miami where we called it. I mean, we called the win for Miami. We called them to cover, which they actually did. They actually did win the game, if not for a ridiculous blown call that you never see in the NBA, where Jimmy Butler caught the ball airborne and was displaced and knocked to the ground, and they just called no travel. They called a jump ball, which is horrendous officiating all around. But in any case, the Bucks, give them credit. They closed the game on a 21-6 run. It wasn't just that blown call. The Heat kind of collapsed there. And it shows that the Bucks are kind of turning on the Jets here as we enter March. I mean, really, they've been trying to turn the corner since they got blowed out by the Nuggets. That's 11 games ago. They have the best offense in the league since then. They've won 7 of 11. Their defense has not necessarily come along as they're playing at the 4th fastest pace, and they've gone over in 9 of those 11 games. On the road, the numbers are even more stark as they started with a 4-game road trip after that loss, blowing out the Blazers, Clippers, and Lakers before getting blown out in Phoenix. So those games all went over. We saw an offensive rating of 126 from the Bucks and a defensive rating of 116. And so now they go over again. I mean, they go to Chicago, little slip there as, we probably expect an over. At a 240 total, it kind of hits that scary point for me. If Zach LaVine doesn't play, I would be very concerned about betting it over because the last time these teams met, LaVine was basically the only key guy out for either side, and it went 94-90, just a really weird low-scoring game there just on January 30th. The Bulls are also doing a good job of limiting what the Bucks like to do in terms of points in the paint, points off threes. They are giving up a high percentage of points off free throws lately. And Giannis has had his way with them, averaging 30 and 12 rebounds. So with 9 straight double-doubles against Chicago. So we were looking for some bonuses here, some ways to juke the money line for Milwaukee. And right now, a Giannis double-double and a win is even money at FanDuel. That would be a great bet if you have an account there. Otherwise, maybe looking at teasing the total down and then just taking the Bucks at basically a money line pick here because they have such a good rest advantage. Not only did Chicago play last night, but their previous 2 losses were against Miami and Memphis, which leaves every opponent black and blue after playing those teams. And the Bulls are 5-5 against the spread with a rest disadvantage, and they're 9-14 against the spread as underdogs. They've now lost 5 of their last 6 against teams with winning records. And Milwaukee, starting to look more and more like the champs.
Yeah, 100%. There's too much. I think too much offense tonight for Milwaukee. I'm scared of that total, really only because of Zach LaVine and whether or not he plays and where they're at right now. I mean, DeMar, is another guy. I mean, he has failed to score 30 in 2 straight games, despite being pretty efficient and putting up more than 5 assists and rebounds in each of those games as well. So he's doing other things, but the problem then, becomes obviously their inability to stop Milwaukee right now, which, as you mentioned, in their last 4 road games, 126 offensive rating, and giving up points as well. But they're doing it with an incredibly efficient offense, despite they're playing at that pace of 101.5 in those last 4 road games as well. But they're the second best shooting team, really, between true shooting and efficient effective field goal percentage. They're still a top 5 rebounding team, which has actually gone way up for them as of late. In the last 5 or 6 games, they've definitely improved their rebounding where it was down a good amount. And, I think, you talk about what they've done on their last 4 roadies in terms of going over in all 4. Yeah, they got blown out by Phoenix at the end of there, but, at the end of that road trip. But the 4 that went over by an average of 14 points per game, with 2 of those reaching the 250 mark against those bad LA teams. So, I'm very a little bit loath to once again think if the Bulls are going to come along for the ride, as we say, in terms of scoring that many points tonight. I think they're capable of it if Zach LaVine's in there, but if he's not, and I'm not positive he's going to play tonight after all those minutes on the second leg of that back-to-back, that's why I feel fine about taking Milwaukee's team total at 121.5. They've scored at least 120 in their last 5, and then in the game before that, they lost to the Suns, as we mentioned, getting blown out, but then go right back before that, 130 points in 3 straight against those Clips, Blazers, and Lakers. And I think the Bulls are right on par with those teams on defense right now. They're not able to really stop teams that back down to about the 18th defensive rating in their last 6 games or so. Look, playing on the second leg of this back-to-back tonight for them, they're 8-2-1 to the over when they have that rest disadvantage, and they are 10-3 to the over on the second leg of these back-to-backs. So there are points to be scored, but they're covering at a decent rate, 7-5-1, but in that time frame as well, in terms of on the second leg of those back-to-backs. But this is not a situation where they are in any way, shape, or form coming in with any kind of leverage or advantage here. Everything points towards Milwaukee having that rest advantage, really strong rest advantage, and the fact that, as you said, they're coming on right now in a way that I think that this is the turnaround point for them. They know they need to get hot before they get into the playoffs. You don't want to be that team that turns it on right in terms of right when the playoffs start. You need to have that 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the playoffs where you start to feel like your team is gelling and playing well. And I think this is the moment in time for them. The defense still isn't there, and that's definitely, at least in large part, to the fact that they are missing Brolo still, and then Brook Lopez, and then Pat Connaughton going down does really hurt their second team wing defense, top of the key defense, and obviously efficiency shooting the ball there. So I think there's still plenty to like about Chicago's ability to score, but 240 is wild to me, and I'm not even really going to try and mess with that and tease it. I think we both feel great about the Bucks winning this one and covering, to be honest, even on the road. And so I think you start there, you hit that hard, and then honestly, you can go to places like FanDuel, get those player performance doubles that I think you can get a little bit more juice. The Giannis double feels like a no-brainer to me if you get even money back for them to win, as I really like the money line for the Bucks just as much as anything. So.
Yeah, and I'll also look at some Drew Holiday props as he starts to turn it on. Kind of the unsung MVP for this team has been just as crucial for you as Giannis for the Bucks. When you look at their record without Drew, and his last 3 road games, been very impressive in terms of 25 plus points and assists. That is where his prop is at, regardless of the win tonight, and just 20 points in the win at plus 205, worth another look as the player performance double there. Chicago, yeah, I mean they still can't defend with those 2 guards in the backcourt. We saw it again with Trae Young last night, just erupting. So Drew Holiday should also have a nice night here. And you look at, with the rest disadvantage, how often they go over. 8-2 to the over, and 10-3 to the over when they're on the second leg of a back-to-back. So that's a lot more about their defense than their ability to score. I mean, Milwaukee's not stopping anybody either right now. They're just accepting that they're going to take the ball out of the basket and go score at a more efficient rate than you.
Yeah.
But the fact that Chicago doesn't shoot threes, and that is what Milwaukee lets you do, Milwaukee, kind of clamps down on that mid-range game and has done a good job on paint points lately. A really good job limiting free throws on the road, right? Fourth lowest rate. And that is key because the only way DeRozan got his points in the last meeting here, 35 points, 17 at the line. So if they can keep him off the line tonight, and if there's no Zach LaVine, I feel pretty confident about the Bucks covering 4 or 5 points here. And I would worry more. Yeah, I would think more likely to go under than in that case, but it's too scary to take it either way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we touched the total tonight on this one sitting at 240. I mean, if it was at like 232 or 233 even, I would consider it, but it needs to be a lot lower for me to feel really, really good about it, enough to put some money on it. I would just end with, talking a little bit more about Drew Holiday, just in terms of opposing point guards for who teams playing against Chicago right now. I mean, that's where you can start. If you're looking for who you think is going to have big games against Chicago, it's going to be the point guard, as we talk about, their 2 best guards and 2 best defenders, and Caruso and Ball still out. They give up the 4th most amount of points, does Chicago, 2 point guards, and they also give up the 4th most amount of assists as well to opposing point guards. So I think you can expect some good stuff from Drew Holiday tonight. If you do like him to get 20 points, which I think is more than likely, 20 points in a win is plus 200, doubling your money there. So I think that's another great one as you bring up the point about Chicago's inability to guard opposing point guards. So that is all the time we have for you in this fun Eastern Conference matchup. Don't forget that Milwaukee is trying to overtake Chicago and win that division. So I think there's plenty of reason to feel like they have the motivation tonight. Make sure to like and subscribe to the page, as we got a couple other videos up for you today on this pretty big Friday night slate. And until we see you next, happy betting.